Jibe, I love your videos, and I get calling Yasuo mains pussies and stuff is funny, but could you tone down the insults on him a bit? I'm just saying this because as your fan, it makes me feel like you dislike me or other fans for being a Yasuo main. Okay, when I read this, I actually felt so bad. Z-Trek, I am very sorry. I did not mean to upset you with that. Recently, as we've been making the transition from the old style of videos that we did to the more daily content we're putting out now, I've been trying to also adjust my attitude to how I put out videos. Basically, I don't want to censor myself anymore. I want to be free when it comes to, you know, giving my opinions on things and being kind of hyper stylized on my thoughts. Not to name any names, but there's a lot of other YouTubers out there that really don't have much personality. All they do is they play League of Legends and they react to the gameplay, and you don't really know anything about them as human beings or as people. If they are, you know, they might not even be human beings. I wouldn't know because I don't know anything about their likes or dislikes, and I kind of want to be more free-flowing with my opinions in that kind of way. If you disagree with anything I say, that's perfectly fine. You can like How to Train Your Dragon. You can like Yasuo, and I'm not going to dislike you as a person at all. I'm just kind of, you know, trying to give my opinions and talk about stuff for the sake of being entertaining. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get into today's video. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. My name's Jibe99. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. Today, we're going to be doing something different. Today, we're spectating Faker. Please don't kill me, Riot Games. We're going to be spectating Faker because Faker has been abusing Irelia a ton in solo queue, abusing her as a mid laner. I want to go ahead and take a look at one of his games. This is a game that he played yesterday, the day before I'm recording this. He played this game yesterday up against a Ryze in mid lane, and this is just the most recent success that he's been having with Irelia mid. Irelia, obviously, we have played her quite a bit top lane ever since her rework, and I have played her in a few games mid lane, but not that many. I don't really know too much about her being played mid lane, so I want to see if I can watch some of Faker's gameplay here and see if I can figure out exactly what it is that he's been using to get so much free low. I mean, this is Challenger. This is Challenger on the Korean server. He has been playing her a ton, and he must know something that I don't know, because I should, you know, maybe we shouldn't switch her secondary to jungle, flip-flop on that, because if we can get her mid lane and you know, if we can succeed as much as he's been succeeding lately, then that would be pretty nice. That could give us a new thing to do in solo queue. But anyway, let's go ahead and we're going to be going through this full gameplay commentary, speeding up a little bit here and there, and we'll be doing this live. I don't know if I mentioned, I have not watched this gameplay before, so I don't know too much of what to expect other than Faker doing well. And yeah, we're going to see exactly what we can find out from him. One thing I should mention... Oh. Okay, that was very aggressive. Hang on, I want to watch that again. Oops. So, Evelyn gets caught out here, kind of. She engages on the Lee Sin. Hang on. Again, sorry. Is he... We're going to go slow motion for this. Go. Slow motion here. Is he using his E and then flashing, or is he flash E-ing? The E is definitely the one part of Irelia where I feel like flash E-E. He's actually using the E in a way that I don't normally expect. Most Irelia players would try and use the E like E behind, then flash, E forward, QQ. That's something I don't really see many players doing, is just E-ing two E's right next to each other, but maybe that actually gives you a much... that might give you a much faster animation on the E, which would make it more difficult to dodge. That is something that I've done a little bit, but I thought that was wrong. But maybe it's not. Anyway, though, Faker starting this game off very strong, and with the early double buff, I'm sure we're going to see him being a lot more aggressive in laning phase against this Ryze now. But yeah, one thing I wanted to mention before we get too far into this gameplay is that this is just a video that I am totally stealing from Foxdrop. Foxdrop, who is another great YouTuber, great League of Legends YouTuber, did a very similar video where he did pretty much the exact same thing we're doing here. Want to go ahead and credit him? You should go watch his video. I'll link it in the description down below because, yeah, I kind of feel guilty that I'm just stealing his video idea. But I'm the Irelia guy, so I feel like I should, if anyone's going to go and try and figure out exactly what it is that Faker's using Irelia for, then I feel like I should be one of those guys trying to figure it out myself. Yeah, so another thing that I kind of just realized somewhat recently is Irelia probably would fit mid lane just as well, if not better, than top lane. A lot of champions mid lane, like Ryze, fit into the scaling model that Irelia has with her rework much better. Irelia was actually always kind of good mid lane. I enjoyed playing the old Irelia mid lane a fair amount, but I'm thinking with the hyper scaling now, where she's weaker, super weak in the early game and super strong in the late game, she's probably even better mid lane than she was before. Because that's what most mid laners are. Most mid laners, particularly mid lane mages like Ryze at least, they don't have the early game harass potential that certain top laners like Pantheon or Renekton might have, or Darius. So Irelia should have a lot easier of a time getting to level 6, getting to level 8, and hitting that late game power spike scaling with her Triforce. I think that's kind of an interesting thing. So I could see Irelia being a much better mid laner than top laner, honestly, but she still is good top lane. I don't mean to... a lot of you think I've been a lot harsher on Irelia than I've been. I haven't been feeling like I've been all that harsh on Irelia. She's an amazing rework, and I don't think I've actually been getting that point across well enough in some of my videos lately. So anyway, though, let's go ahead and see how Faker extends this lead, or if he's going to be too aggressive in the early game here. It looks like he's still playing relatively passively, not trying to force anything against Ryze. And his teammates are also losing. I'm kind of curious about this game in particular. I picked this game out because it looked like a game where Faker carried his teammates. Like, this wasn't just his team completely outplaying the enemy team. The enemy team does a pretty good job in the early game. We can see that the enemy team has a gold lead right now, as they also have one more kill, but never mind. So, like, right here in general, he's standing really far back. I guess Ryze does have a slight experience advantage on him. I feel like Irelia would probably be better than Ryze at this point in the game. If he gets a good ulti off, then he could probably kill the Ryze 100-0. Oh, is he going to do it? Okay, maybe his Ignite was down. Yeah, I was thinking that Irelia can probably... This is probably the tipping point where Irelia can go and outplay the Ryze. Or outdamage the Ryze, assuming that she lands all her abilities. One thing Faker might actually be doing is trying to make sure that he gets a perfect E landing, which he's been doing. He's actually been trying to just use his E very conservatively and using it right next to each other. I'm curious if he does this in every game or if he ever tries to use a larger E outside of team fights. But yeah, I think that he might just be trying to wait and make sure he gets a perfect E here. Oh, is he going to get... yeah. Evelyn here. Ryze messed up there. Okay, so what does that put him at? That puts him at 3-0 with a 10 CS lead over the Ryze. Really good start here for Faker. Obviously, probably the best player in the world. I assume that he'll start off and play very well. But yeah, so I think for the most part, the one thing we can take away from his early game is that he's not necessarily playing too passively. He's still being relatively aggressive and looking for kills. I mean, it's 8 minutes in and he's 3-0, so he's still obviously playing relatively aggressively. But for the most part, he's picking his fights smart. Is he gonna go for that singed? He's right there. He had red buff. If that would be a mistake for Irelia to go and try and at least damage the singed, I would make that mistake because I feel like that was a good opportunity with your red buff and everything. You could probably choose the Singe down. Unless the Singe is super fed or something. Well, he's 2-0. Okay, yeah, probably not smart. But anyway, so I would expect right now Faker to start being a little bit more aggressive. At level 8, I feel like that's around a point where you can start being a little bit more aggressive 1 versus 1. He's not... He's denying a little bit of CS from the Ryze, 10 CS, but that's nothing too ridiculous. I mean, that's probably 10 CS the Ryze just lost from his thingy. Oh, well-timed stun. That's a really well-timed stun for him to finish the Ryze off. Oh, I didn't check his runes actually. What was that? Oh, hang on. Okay, I'm going to put his runes up. Yeah, so Faker's runes are kind of standard in a few ways. The bone plating is something that you normally take top lane. I would normally take Second Wind over Chrysalis, which is a little bit interesting to see that. But I didn't think Overheal was all that good. I don't really understand the Overheal here, but I guess he always goes for it. That's a bit of an interesting thing that I might have to try out myself, see how good it is. I would swap out Overheal for Triumph much earlier than I would swap out Alacrity for Tenacity. But yeah, after getting that kill, I would expect him to be pretty aggressive here going for that tower. But Singed and Lee Sin are here. Is he going to turn or run? Okay, he should turn with that teleport. But, ooh, that was a good flash. But he's still dead. Okay. So, yeah, that was still, I guess that's just, you know, the enemy team completely collapsing down on him, which he played that about as well as a person could, trying to get away from it, but you can see that he's playing a lot more aggressively now, going for that tower, going for trying to be a much more forward-playing player. Seeing if he can go for kills, seeing if he can go for towers. I think one thing that he's probably doing perfectly this game that I'm not commenting on yet is I think he's landed every E so far. One complaint that some Irelia's had right after the Irelia rework was that Irelia is like 100% about whether or not you land your E. And that might sound a little bit goofy to other players because it's like, oh, you have to land your skill shot to play the champion. Oh, woe is me. What a bad problem. But it's like most other champions have skill shots where it's like, you know, you can afford to miss one of them, right? Like a Xerath can afford to miss a Q and then still engage or even still get a kill in certain circumstances. Whereas Irelia, like the instant she goes from landing that E, she goes from, if she lands it, she gets a kill. If she misses it, she gets killed. And I think that it's like you know, two complete opposite spectrums on the scale of you know, just immediately hit the skill shot, guaranteed kill, miss the skill shot, guaranteed death. So I think that's one thing that Faker is probably, because he's landing every single skill shot he has, that's probably part of the reason that he's been able to have so much success. I'd like to see, is he going to go and try and fight that? Are they going to try and... I saw them grouping a dragon. They might not be going for it, though. Might go and try and kill Faker instead. It's only an air drake after all. So that might be the first skill shot he's missed, and he also misses the ultimate. It's okay, Faker. I missed plenty of ultimates, too. And he... Hang on. Did he... I guess without the E. So if he misses the E... Let me slow this down. Curious about this. He misses the E, he misses the ultimate, so he's not going to be able to do anything with his Q. That's a decent W, I suppose. There's not going to be a better spot to use the W here. Tries to Q to the thing to get away. Tries to Q to the Lee Sin once he realizes he's dead. Tries to kill the Lee Sin and is unable to successfully do so. Another thing that I actually haven't been doing a good job of examining enough, I think, in a lot of the games that we've been playing Irelia and making videos on her and commentating about stuff. Respawn already. A lot of the videos that we've been making where we've been commentating on Irelia gameplay and talking about stuff, we haven't done a very good job of talking about the passive. The passive is a very important part of Irelia, keeping your passive up, and if you have it up, you can almost always get kills. Good job there. That was just a mistake on Lee Sin's part, being way too overly aggressive. That was actually a good example of Lee Sin going in when Faker had his passive completely fully stacked. I think that having that passive stacked, the difference between having your passive stacked and not having your passive stacked is oftentimes the difference between you getting a kill and you not getting a kill. Okay, yeah, just gonna stay chill. Without his ultimate, he should probably chill, but I expect him to go aggressive once he gets his ulti back up because he has his level 2 ulti at level 11 here. I'm not too sure. I assume that Faker's picking Irelia in multiple instances, not just when he has a Vladimir top lane, or, you know, an AP top laner. He has an AP top laner and an AP jungler here, so it makes complete sense for him to pick Irelia, but I can imagine he's probably picking Irelia in plenty of other circumstances where, you know, circumstances where he's also getting, circumstances where he's getting AD's top lane and they're just having a slightly more AD heavy composition. This is a surprisingly balanced composition for playing an AD champion mid lane, so I'm kind of curious. Maybe I'll go look through some of his older games and see if he's only picking Irelia with AP tops. But anyway, I kind of expect him to be a little bit more aggressive here, as I said, probably going for that tower at some point. He can still take first tower, and his team is probably going to lose first tower top lane in a moment here. Oh, no, never mind. That's just a bug on the minimap. Lucy, stop squeaking that. Come on, let's see a fight. I want to see another team fight and see how he uses his E and when he uses his ultimate. Okay, taking the tower now. And it looks like he's going just straight for mid lane. He has Ignite this game, so he doesn't have a teleport anyway, but is he going to go for this? Not against the Singed. But Singed is doing well this game, so it'll be tough for him to go and 1v1 him. Is he going to 1v1 him? I'll be surprised to see him do it. Okay, they're probably going to go for a dragon here, I'd expect. Oh, here we go. Okay, so just those small E's kind of shock me. Maybe not shock, but maybe that's one thing I should try and do more so myself. I haven't actually tested and seen if the E, if like using a larger E has a quicker or slower cast time. I assume the reason he's using his E to just have small AoEs is because you'll actually get quicker casts off, and it'll be harder for the enemy team to dodge. It's probably harder for the enemy team to dodge because it's harder for the enemy players to see, and if they can't see it, they can't flash out of it. But I'm curious. Maybe he'll use larger E's in some larger team fights later on to try and get some good 5v5s. Or like multiple stuns on multiple targets. So he'll be going bot lane here to try and tower dive this Ryze. And they will successfully do so, but he won't even be able to get the assist because the Ryze was dead anyway. Come on, let's have some team fights. He's doing a pretty good job of splitting. This is one thing that I'm kind of bad at as a player in general, I'd argue, is... you know, I've made a lot of complaints about Irelia not being a good split pusher, but, you know, there he goes and takes 2 towers. The thing about split pushing on Irelia, in my opinion, that kind of makes it tough is that you can't 1v1 quite as many champions. But I guess if you are playing mid lane and you're being matched with the other mid laner, like Ryze is here, you can probably... I mean, he can 1v1 this Ryze, as long as he has his ultimate up, which he does. Yeah, I'd be surprised if he didn't go for that. Oh, okay, he missed his E. Is he still going to go? Yeah, he is, but unfortunately, he can't stop him from... ulting away. Okay, so he's probably hitting a point right now. What's his score? 5-2-2. He's probably hitting a point right now where he doesn't need the E to just 1v1 someone like the Ryze, at least. But he's going to need the E there. And yeah, he's just using the E in a kind of interesting way. Maybe I should try and study his E's a little bit more, because that really is probably the make and break difference of whether or not you're going to succeed or fail when playing Irelia. Oh, is Lee Sin going to go for that? Yes. Ooh, that was tough. It was close. Hang on, actually, is he throwing... I'm curious about this now. Is he throwing the first E in front of or behind the person? So... slow down as much as we can. So that first E, he's throwing directly on him. And then the second E, close by where he thinks he'll be. Okay, okay. Yeah, the E is really a major part of Irelia's kit on, you know, the old E was obviously, but the old E was a targeted ability, so you couldn't exactly miss it unless you were higher health than the other person. But I guess as long as you land that E, and that might also be another thing, is, I don't know, maybe I'm just a bad player, but in my experience, playing Irelia has been a little bit tough into certain matchups on stuff like Riven, right? Champions that have a lot of mobility. Generally speaking, a lot of top laners have a lot of mobility and quick dashes that they can probably use to get out of the E. Now, you can play around that, but just in general, I can imagine maybe one of the things that really makes Irelia a good mid lane is the fact that she's able to, you know, play against Ryze, play against champions that don't have mobility, play against Syndra, play against Anivia. A lot of the mid lane champions, I think, not to say that none of them have mobility, but when you go up against someone like a Ryze, it's a lot easier to land that E and get a guaranteed kill compared to like a Vladimir Pool or a Riven Dash. I'm a little surprised Singed isn't going and trying to help Thresh out there. I guess Faker really is getting strong at this point. 6, 2, and 3. He has the Triforce, he has the GA, and he has the Sterix. He's going for a pretty typical top lane build, except he hasn't gotten a thingy yet. A timeout item. But that's not too important. I can imagine as a mid laner, and as long as you're not taking teleport, you're not going to have to go and be the person split pushing. And maybe with, you know, with your Q, you can afford to spend a lot of time not... oh, he's dead. There again, he throws his E on the person, or slightly behind them, first. Ooh, you can kill him. And yeah, so that's interesting. I hadn't noticed that. I hadn't noticed that until now. He always throws the E like on top of the target, and then throws the second one towards him. Can we do it again? Yeah, there he goes again. Oh shit, we learned something! Dude, we learned something. Okay, I'm gonna start doing that with Irelia then. He always throws the E right on top of the target and slightly behind them, and then throws the second E in front of him. He'll probably die to Singed here. Or maybe not. There he goes. Good job, team. Helping Faker out. Okay, so what's that put him at? That puts him at 9-2-5, and his CS lead against that Rise really is starting to expand quite a bit. 268 CS to 198. Starting to get pretty gross, pretty disgustingly large. A 70 CS lead, and you're seeing just how much more useful Faker's being compared to the Rise. But yeah, so far the things we're taking away from this gameplay is that firstly, he's able to, the scaling that Irelia has might match up just well enough mid lane. Not to say that you can't play her top lane. There's plenty of champions like Yasuo and Gangplank that are played top lane that can have similar scaling, but that scaling also works mid lane and might work to your advantage in some early laning phases with some of the weaker early games that some of the mid mages have, like Rise, and even someone like a Zir, I can imagine. They just get better and better as the game goes on, which means they're weaker and weaker early on. So Irelia can probably do pretty well in a lot of those matchups. And on top of that, the fact that she has, the hyper-scaling late game, she can be a good mid-lane carry because of it. And you picked up on how he's using his E. I can imagine also if you're able to land, I think I already mentioned, but if you land every single E, or if you come close to landing every E and you force flashes and stuff when people dodge it. There he goes again. Huh. He didn't even try and use it in the direction that Lee Sin was running, which is kind of interesting. Maybe it's also more difficult for an enemy to dodge if you use the E in that way. But yeah, this is starting to turn into some pretty standard and typical Irelia gameplay that's not too particular of mid lane. But we are seeing that, Faker's doing a great job of carrying this. What are his teammate scores? I guess his Evelynn is doing pretty well. Evelynn is 10-2-7, which is very, very good, but I mean, nobody else on his team is even positive, so I'd say he's doing a pretty fair amount of heavy lifting here, carrying his team. And is he going to go for that Jhin? I can imagine he would want to. Yep, there he goes. Uses the E in the same way again. That might also help him out with flashies, as we saw right there. And yeah. Oh, dude, I'm so excited. I can't wait to get into a game and try some of this out myself. So, yeah. That's how he uses the E's. The rest of the gameplay is kind of standard and similar to what you would... I mean, not to say that I'm similar to Faker or anything, but the rest of Irelia's kit is kind of standard, Irelia uses her ultimate the same way that she always would. Irelia uses her W the same way that she always would. Faker's using it pretty much the same way you would see any other Irelia player use it. But that E is definitely different from what I would normally expect many other Irelias to do. And for the most part, yeah, this is kind of interesting. I'm definitely... I feel like if Irelia is not a hotly contested ban, maybe then we would really want to have our secondary be mid lane, because she can be played very effectively mid lane. I kind of thought that against ranged matchups in general, you would probably struggle in a lot of situations, but I guess if the ranged matchup is another hyperscaler like Rise, he can't harass you any more than, a melee champion would be able to. A melee champion might even have an easier time harassing you in laning phase, even if they're weaker early on. So right there, he's actually throwing the thing in front of him, but still the same principle with the E. And yeah, they're styling at this point. That's probably game. Final score, 14-2-7, unless he goes and gets a 15-2-7 on this Lee Sin. There we go. And win the game off of that. That was a very interesting game, and I think highlights a lot of the strengths that Irelia has. I didn't really consider how good she could be mid lane, but she really can be a fantastic mid laner, as Faker has been showing us recently. Currently, he has some 30 games played with her, 59% win rate, pretty solid kill rate. And again, if we go and check him, is he just playing Irelia into those matchups where he has... So right here, he had a Gragas. He had a Vladimir top lane. Maybe he is trying to be a little bit conscientious of having at least some magic damage on the team. Nidalee jungle, Morgana support here. Here he had a Camille top Kha'Zix. Okay, so here he doesn't actually have any AP. So, okay, maybe he isn't worrying too much about team composition and just he believes in the carry potential of Irelia. And he's also interested in taking Glacial Augment. But anyway, that's all for today's video. Yeah, maybe expect some Irelia mid lane sometime soon, as I embarrass myself trying to be like Faker. Anyway, though, I'll see you all tomorrow. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Good luck in solo queue, and have a wonderful day.